guys, this is Steven here with another video on how to play some logic puzzles. This one's called Square Numbers. The rules state that squares are going to be drawn within the grid such that lines are drawn through the center of the cells. What I have here is an example puzzle so you can see how it looks. Only one of the four corners of each square is going to contain a number or go through one of the circles. The numbers, if there is one, represents how many other numbers are contained within that square. If there's a 0 or no number, that square does not contain any other numbers within it. If you have a 2, you're going to have 2 other numbers contained within the square, and so forth. Lines may cross one another only in a perpendicular fashion. They may not touch anywhere else or overlap or run parallel on the same row or column. And cells cannot contain 2 lines. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is solve an example puzzle for you guys and share some common tips and tricks. The first thing that I do is I know that all lines have to start from a number. And what I do is I find the impossible direction that a line can go in and then go in the opposite way. So what I know is any of the ones along the edges can't go towards the edge, so it has to go opposite, right? So this 0 has to go up, and we can do that on all the ones along the edges. This 1 can't come to the right because there's no other numbers to the right that it can contain. So it has to go to the left. And then what I would do is continue going until I know it can contain another number. Because if I stop here, right, and draw a square up like that or down like that, it's not going to contain another number. So I have to keep going. And I can't stop here either, because if I go up, it's not going to contain a number. And if I go down, it's going to run into another circle, and you're only allowed to have one other circle or number in each square. So I have to go again. And that's about as far as I'm going to go for now. And the reason for that is you want to find the minimum possible length in that direction. And then the minimum possible length is going to be based off of, again, the numbers within the circle, and making sure that you don't run into other numbers or go out the grid, right? Obviously this 1 can't go past the grid borders, so that's obviously a constraint. And then lastly, squares cannot contain any numbers along the edges. So this circle here, and this circle here is not going to be within any of the other squares. So this is probably a good stopping point, because if I go up, I'm going to run into the 2. And if I keep going, I'm going to include more circles than I need. So this is the minimum and maximum length it can go. So that's 2, 4 to the left. I have to now come 4 down and complete that square, and that includes another digit. Now this one here can't come down because the only number south of it is up against the border. So you can't include that one in this square. So because I can't go down, I have to go up. I can't stop here because I'd run into this other one. You can't have duplicating lines and cells, so I have to continue going forward. I can't stop here because I'm not going to include any other numbers in it. So if I go to the left, the square would look like that, and that would break. And I can't go to the right for the same reason. That would break. So I have to continue going one further. And I think that's about as far as I can go up, because if I go to the left, I'm going to include more than one number, right? If I go up like this, it's going to have too many numbers. That'll be too big of a square. And if I come to the right here, I'm running up against the edge here. I only have 4 cells until I run to the edge. So that's as big as that square can get. Now let's start working on the 2's. This 2 here can't come to the right because it would run against this other line. So it has to come to the left. This is too short, right? If I come down, it's not going to include enough numbers. If I go up, it's not going to include any numbers. So I have to keep going. And again, that's too small. If I come down, it's only going to include 1 digit. Now I can't include these 2 up here in the square because I'm going to end up running off the grid. So I have to come down. And so this would be a 4 by 4 square if I were to close it now. And that doesn't work because the square runs into this other square, runs into the circle. There's all different reasons why that can't work. So I have to come one further. And now that I think about it, I actually think this 1 is wrong too, because since the 2 can't go up, it has to come down, and it runs into this other 1. So this is wrong. Let's erase that. I think it has to come 1 further like that. Now this 2 can come down. So that's 2, 4, 5 to the right, so it has to go 2, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's too far. So that's the minimum length of that 2. This 2 can't go down because it would run into this other square. So it has to come up. That's too short. Has to keep going. I think that's too short too. So let's keep going. I think it's got to include these 2 digits. And that's as far as it can go up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right works. Because if I go to the left, again, these 2 are up against edges, so I can't include those in the square. And there's only 1 off the edge, so that's not enough other numbers to be included in the square. So I have to go this way. So that completes that. This number here, it's a 0. There's no number in it. It can't go up because it'd run into this other square. And then any further would be off the grid. So it has to come down. Can't go any further because it would run into the 2. So that's about as far as we can go up or down. And now I can't go to the left because, again, it'd run into that other square. So you have to come to the right. And that solved that number. This circle here can't come to the right because it would run into this other square. Oops. So it have to come to the left. This can't come to the right because that's going to run into that square, or that number. So we have to come to the left. Same thing here. This can't go to the right because it runs into this square. If it goes any further, it runs parallel with that other square. So it has to come to the left. That basically cuts off this one up here because it can't go any further, right? That would be too big. So that's going to look like that. This is going to take up as little space as possible. We're going to go up. So now since this can't go up, it's got to come down. It's got to go at least a little bit further because it's running into this 2. So we've come down 2, we got to go over 2. Let's think about this. If we close this 2 now, it would look like that. This one would have to come 1 further out to the left because if it closed now, they would overlap like that. So it would end up looking like this. And then this circle's donezo. It's got no place to go, right? Can't go up, it runs into this line. Can't go down 1 because it'd run into the other. And if it goes down 2, it runs into the other. So that 2 does not work. We're going to have to extend it out 1. So if it goes down 1, it has to come over 1 more. And now we can close it. And then this can't run into that other one, so we go up like that. This can close, that can close, and there we go. So that's how you do a square numbers. Lots of fun. I actually really like it. I do find it really pretty easy once you've done a few of them. Again, the biggest clue is if you can't go in one direction, you have to go in the opposite direction, because you can't have straight lines through a number. You have to have a right angle. So it's a lot like a Masu or a Shingoki puzzle with a black dot, where basically if you can't go one direction, you got to go the exact opposite direction. And then you find the minimum length that you have to go, and that makes it a whole lot easier. So that's it for today. Hopefully you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more in the future. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.